Good afternoon, members of Parliament, support staff, visitors in the Tribune, radio listeners, TV viewers, those viewing via social media, and members of the media. Welcome to this continuation meeting of this urgent public meeting number 19 of today, September 2nd, 2022. I would like to give a special welcome to the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Mr. Edward Duran, and his support staff. We've established a quorum of 10 members of Parliament. Please let's stand for a moment of silence. Before I move over to notifications, I would like to, on behalf of Parliament, welcome MP William Marlin back to Parliament. Welcome back in the House of Parliament. We all wish you a speedy recovery. And I would like to now ask the members of Parliament if anyone wishes to have notification. MP Christophe Emmanuel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to you, the Honourable Minister, support staff. And yes, it's good that the senior member of Parliament, William Marlin, is back. Welcome back, and of course, a speedy recovery to him too as well. Madam Chair, you know what I'm going to ask for. And again, we are at this point where this meeting is what it is, and we haven't received the documents that was requested. I would just like to ask through you, Madam Chair, now that the Minister is here, if we will be getting these documents today. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Emmanuel. I will allow the Minister to respond maybe in his opening remarks. And I see another MP would like to have on floor for notifications. MP Pontiflet, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the Chair, my colleagues in Parliament, of course, the Honourable Minister, his support staff, those that are viewing and those that are listening. I too, Madam Chair, want to use this opportunity to welcome back our Member of Parliament, Mr. William Marlin. It is good to see that he's back here with us. I'm sure it has been a very difficult journey, but of course, we are glad that he's here. So again, MP Marlin, welcome back. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Pontiflet. Any other Member of Parliament? Yes, MP Ludmila De Weaver, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Lady, Honourable Minister of Rami, and your staff, viewing and listening members of the public, and my honourable colleagues here in Parliament. First off, MP William Marlin, you were sorely missed, very much so. So it is an absolute pleasure to welcome you back here on the floor of Parliament with us. And Madam Chair, my notification is just one of gratitude to say thank you to the Prime Minister for always being supportive, to say thank you to you for your impartiality. Where we have gone has been separate, a definite thank you to the United People's Party for letting me be part of them and being here to represent the people of St. Martin. But things are no longer aligned, and with that, I will have to declare my independence. Thank you very much, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP De Weaver, for your notification. Is there any other Member of Parliament that wishes to have the floor? MP Marlin? Okay. You have the floor, MP Marlin. No, because I wasn't sure. You have the floor.
I'm supposed to.
You can have a seat, MP Marlin. It's not a problem. Parliament agrees that MP Marlin has a seat. Yes.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Hearty good afternoon to colleagues here and the Honourable Minister and his delegation. Welcome. Madam Chair, it would be amiss of me not to firstly thank the Almighty for being back in my country. It's the first time in my life that I've been away from home for 6.5 months, and for quite some time during that time lying in a hospital bed. Madam Chair, the condition under which I have returned would give a complete twisted impression of where I really am in my treatment and recovery. I went to Panama 6.5 months ago for the second surgery of a 3 series that I had to do, and regrettably, after 6.5 months, I have not done the second surgery that I went for, but from one thing to another led to where I am today. Just Friday gone, all was well. I could walk and everything else. It's just the inflammation in my body was still high, and the doctors encouraged me to do another test, and according to them, a final test. And instead of going back to my hotel room, they told me they're going to keep me overnight for observation. Little did I know, until the following morning, I realized I could not walk. There were two things: either stay in Panama longer and continue to go downhill, so to speak, or return home and find somewhere else for a second opinion, or rather a second treatment, because I still have back pain, but the reason why I cannot walk at this point they can't explain, and hopefully it will go away with therapy. But I want to sincerely thank the members of Parliament for their warm welcome, and the people of St. Martin in general, and those who have kept me busy answering messages on a daily basis, and every time I miss 1 or 2 days, I end up with 200 plus messages. So to those of you who I have not responded to yet, bear with me. I soon hope to be able to erase that backlog, but every time you try, there are new responses. But it's good to be back home, and thank you once again.
Thank you, MP Marlin. Is there any other member of Parliament that wish to have the floor for notification? I see no need. Then we go over then to the agenda point for this urgent public meeting, which is the final report of the Ombudsman regarding tendering and awarding process of the garbage collection contracts 2021 to 2026, which can be found under incoming document number 1103, 2021-2022, dated June 28, 2022. On June 28, 2022, Parliament received a letter from members of Parliament Melissa Gums, Christophe Emmanuel, Sarah Westcott-Williams, Rayon Peterson, and with the request that an urgent public meeting be convened to address the final report of the Ombudsman regarding the tendering and the awarding process of the garbage collection contracts 2021-2026. The report of the Ombudsman on the systemic investigation is registered under incoming document 1098, Parliamentary Year 2021-2022, dated June 27, 2022. The presence of the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure was desired but not required for this meeting. This meeting was called and took place on June 29, 2022 in the presence of the Minister of Romy. The Minister of Romy was given the opportunity to give some opening remarks and presentation, and members of Parliament were given the opportunity to pose questions to the Minister in the first round. The Minister returned on August 17, 2022 to answer the questions of the members in the first round. The members then posed their questions in the second round, which one motion was presented by MP Gums. The meeting was then adjourned to allow the Minister time to prepare the answers to the questions posed in the second round. Today, the Minister of Romy, Mr. Egbert Duran, has returned to Parliament to provide the answers to the questions posed by the members of Parliament in the second round, hence today's meeting. At this time, 1 minute. Before I give the floor to the Minister of Romy, I would like to inform the members of Parliament that we received the requested documents by the members of Parliament, which MP Ludmila Duncan, which has been deemed confidential. It concerns the statements of the civil servants, and it can be viewed at the Secretariat. Additionally, we just also received some other documents that came in from MP Christophe Emmanuel regarding the request that you had. That document just came in as well, MP Emmanuel. So with that information, I would like to now at this time I would like to now at this time give the floor to the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Mr. Ehmed Duran, for his opening remarks and to provide answers to the questions posed in the second round. Minister Duran, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. Good afternoon to you. Good afternoon to my support staff. Good afternoon to the honorable members of Parliament. And a special good afternoon to the people of St. Martin that are tuned in here and abroad. Madam Chair, I'd like to delve right into the first clarification or point that you mentioned. After receiving advice from Way, which is our legal department, the requested information that was sent to Parliament via the Khifir and took into consideration the legal advice received, note needs to be taken that the matter was discussed in the Council of Ministers meeting on Tuesday, and the urgent legal advice was sought, which was received this morning. Confidential information and information that can impact future public procurement proceedings were excluded from the contents of the advice. Furthermore, although based on Article 69 of the Rules of Order of Parliament, a member of Parliament can ask questions to any minister, no mention is made of information that can be requested in the article. Nevertheless, the request is being compiled and based on Article 22 of the Rules of Order, which gives authority to the Central Committee to request document if deemed necessary, is being prepared. Although in this case, it was opted to send the information, for future cases, this needs to be determined on a case-by-case basis, and a formal response letter to the address letter to the Prime Minister will be forthcoming. Madam Chair, without further ado, I would like to delve right into my opening remarks and also the answers to the question posed. Madam Chair, before going into the questions and answers posed by members of Parliament, I wish to state the following. Before even taking office as the Minister of Vrami, I know that it would be a great challenge. As we all know, Vrami has always been surrounded by controversy. I went into the portfolio with the intention to solve problems and raise the standard. Am I perfect? Absolutely not. Are there some things that could be done or I could have done differently? Of course. Dealing with these challenges has surely been a great learning experience for us all. Improvements and suggestions are made on the floor of Parliament. Nevertheless, Madam Chair, I'll go right into the questions I will pose. I'll start with questions posed by MP Manuel. Can you provide me with a letter from the Ombudsman that was sent to you on January 14, 2022? This letter was provided as part of the dossier. The letter of January 14, 2022 is solely a response from the Ombudsman to the feedback of the hearings. Who should verify these documents as was booked into Parliament by PFP? The members of the Evaluation Committee who took part in the process are the most ideal persons to actually review and provide statements on the documents. From the review by the committee, the documents that I received from Parliament are not the same compared to the originals. Did the governor receive those documents? These sheets are internal and used by the Evaluation Committee to verify whether documents are there or not. Once that process is completed, the department head keeps these documents. So these documents were not sent to me as minister, by extension, nor the Council of Ministers, nor the governor. What was sent to me was an internal awarding report that's based on the findings from the committee. Here we see an opportunity for improvement moving forward. Evaluation sheets should be part of the internal awarding advice that are sent for approvals, in my opinion. Next question by MP Manuel. Who recused themselves from the Evaluation Committee? Because the FC resigned, 3 others from the contract management resigned, makes 4 individuals. So then who else from the team, according to the minister, recused themselves? As mentioned, 1 person resigned from the Evaluation Committee and 2 persons distanced themselves after the evaluation phase, claiming that the process did not go according to department procedure. In exercising due diligence, I reached out to the department and had on, I reached out to the department head on these concerns, and I was assured that the procedures was followed accordingly. Why weren't these documents sent to the Ombudsman the minute she requested them? Firstly, I would like to mention that the bailiff, as a neutral third party, was brought in when the documents were being checked, and this information has been documented in a report. I quote from page 47 of the De Roders Contour report. At this point, the department head stated that at the start of the systemic investigation, he was the sole person handling the files and making the requested copies of the documents for the Office of the Ombudsman. The department had indicated that there was a possibility at the time that copying said documents, some of the tenders, such as Company A, could have accidentally been placed loosely in a box opposed to being returned to the disqualified envelopes. I'd like to add that this was the first time for me handling a systemic investigation. I have been informed that all documents were said related to the Ombudsman, but do recognize that some were not received. While this was not my intention, I do apologize to the Ombudsman for not having double-checked all said information. To help prevent this from happening again, I will, among other measures, have a detailed checklist of documents for the Ombudsman and make sure that this time I personally go through these documents and checklists. I move on to questions posed by MP George Pantoflet. The third order states that the evaluation committee of the Ministry of Rummy, consisting of minimum 3 persons, will evaluate tenders. It was chosen to have a committee of 7. Was there a specific reason for this? Well, based on the response through you, Madam Chair, to the Honorable Member of Parliament, based on the response from the department head, given the number of bid documents that were expected to be received, the tender date, and the urgency to finish the entire process on time, extra support was requested by the department head and section head and granted to tackle the bulk load of the documents, considering the shortage of staff members, thus having 7 initially. Just to give a brief idea, Parcel 1, we had 14 bids submitted in threefold, Parcel 2, 16, Parcel 3, 13, Parcel 4, 15, Parcel 5, 16, Parcel 6, 14, and Parcel 7, 17. That's a total of 105 bids, Madam Chair Lady, which equals to 315 bid documents to be evaluated. Next question posed by MP Pantoflet. There are serious concerns that the contracts have been awarded to bidders who didn't submit the lowest bid. Has this happened in the past? Please explain why is this possible based on the awarding system. The lowest price for a bid does not indicate that the service and works will be carried out in accordance with our requirements. The award will not always go to the lowest bidder, but to the bidder whose entire offer, both quality and price, is fully and completely in accordance with the terms of reference. Some committee members indicated that you as minister were intensely involved with the entire process. Minister, can you explain us the observation made by these members? Madam Chair, through you to answer the Honorable MP, I was not intensely involved. My role as minister was to keep an update throughout the entire phase while being in communication with the SG and the department head of infra at the time. The ministry had a heavy responsibility to ensure that deadlines were met so that we don't end up with an unfavorable situation where we're having garbage on the side of our roads throughout the communities. Next question by MP George. Minister, what is your reaction or explanation to the statements of the Ombudsman? Apparently, a Vienna bank statement appeared out of the blue while it was not present at the time of the members of the committee were conducting the evaluation of the document completeness check. According to information received from the department head and SG, they assured me that there were no concerns. I believe this is the case of opinions from deliberations among staff, which has been translated into the report of the Ombudsman. Furthermore, the parcel where the bank statement was so-called missing was not awarded to the company in question, Aviana, as this seems to be the narrative being carried by some. Minister, what is your opinion on the participation of sole proprietorships in contracts such as this magnitude? Should this be maintained in the future? In my opinion, sole proprietorships and other types of entities are currently treated equal as businesses who want to partake in a tender. I believe that an entity should be measured on whether or not they can meet the requirements and provide the service works that are outlined in terms of references. Minister, do you agree that more time should be given to contractors to have equipment like garbage trucks, etc., in place in order to be compliant with the contract? One should not reasonably expect a contractor to purchase trucks before it's guaranteed that the contract would be awarded. Tenders of this nature should always go hand in hand with proper planning and, in my opinion, completed in advance. So to answer your question, MP, I believe at least 6 months in advance would have been reasonable time, but as I explained on numerous occasions, we were at a race against the clock, and this was not the case. Minister, it appears that contractors feel that the tender process did not start on time. Could you please share your thoughts? I must agree. I've expressed this before as well. The department within the ministry should work on tendering processes way in advance, which would alleviate working on the heavy time constraints. Next question by MP Horneflett. Minister, the Ombudsman concludes that the tour was poorly prepared and had a late start of preparations for the tendering. What is your reaction to this? Do you share the opinion of the Ombudsman? Yes, I share the opinion of the Ombudsman regarding the timely and accurate preparations of the tender and the terms of reference in this particular bid. Meanwhile, a package of evaluation sheets has been leaked and booked into Parliament. Is the Minister aware of this, and can the Minister confirm if these documents are copies or originals? These documents are definitely not originals. This was first brought to my attention via the media of supposed evaluation sheets being leaked. It's noteworthy to mention that the documents that I received from Parliament do not fully match the original documents from the department based on the investigation, and also that is reflected in the report of the third order. Minister, I understood that you requested the Ombudsman to have the previous tenders investigated. Did you receive a response? After the meeting a couple of weeks ago, I did follow up with another letter to the Ombudsman, and I recently received a response from the Ombudsman of which she indicated that, in essence, the office would not be investigating any previous tender. This letter also forms part of the documents that I shared with Parliament today. I move on to questions posed through you, Madam Chair Lady, by the Honourable Member of Parliament, Westcott Williams. Did the Minister publicize the policy, or did the Minister publish the policy? The policy was published in the Lance Courant from St. Martin on the 24th of December 2021, and it can be found on page 79. What does the Minister think of the comments made regarding Leonard Enterprises? What is the Minister's specific view on the comments regarding that company? MP mentioned that the Ombudsman in her report, given the history of the company, why not give them a chance to rectify what was seemingly wrong with their submission? Through you, Madam Chair, I would like to, in my opinion, it would be unfair to give out one contractor the chance to be able to rectify without giving everyone else a chance. I believe that rule for one should be rule for all. In the case of the company in question, Leonard Enterprises, they did not have the proper business license. For example, the business license scope of work was missing key elements such as cleaning, garbage collection, and or maintenance, for example. According to information received, the disqualification of the company wasn't a matter of missing documents because all the documents were present. It was just a matter of the documents not lining up with the scope of works. This was explicitly written in terms of reference and explained in several information sessions and also minuted. This was sent to them in response to the inquiry when they asked for a response after the awarding. If I, Madam Chair, through you, and our management had made the executive call to ask them to change their business license, I would be here in front of Parliament for nepotism, Madam Chair, or helping a former colleague and good friend of the family's company. That's one recommendation, suggestion I do not understand, because that in itself is violation of fairness and transparency when it comes to other contractors. I do understand that based on the contract, some mostly young men have jobs and opportunities, and some may have lost them jobs or gained jobs elsewhere. But that's why we have a bidding process, Madam Chair, and may the best man win. Unfortunately, everyone can't win. And you see sentiments like, for instance, through you, Madam Chair, what MP Emmanuel made to sort of divide tactics, saying that I could have given Tamara or Leonard a chance. But that won't work. Just to give a brief history to those that don't know, Tamara gave me my first job right after finishing high school at the Westin Hotel. She and her team interviewed me, almost 14 years ago, and I still remember the interview and things that she said to me, that I was going places and that she was impressed by all the certifications and training that I did at such a young age. Madam Chair, I believe that, again, I want to reiterate, if I or any management have made an executive call to ask a company to change their business license, I would be here for exactly opposite for what I'm here for today in terms of nepotism. I move on to the next question. Was the policy vetted by legal affairs of the government? No, however, it was vetted by our internal legal. Can the legal affairs review the tour provided to Parliament? Legal affairs did not review the tour for solid waste collection. The legal vetting of tours was not customary, and since taking office and trying to improve the way things are done, I introduced this requirement to have tours legally vetted. With the report of the Ombudsman, what are the potential consequences? Can anyone, in the view of the minister, get or take some rights from the report that was totally discredited the process for garbage in collection of solid waste 2021-2022? Sorry, 2021-2026. As I stated last time, I cannot predict the future, but I can make an estimation based on my understanding of the facts and circumstances at hand. It is not in my opinion that the report will have any financial consequences for the government of St. Martin. I move on to questions posed by MP Hyacinth Richardson. What parcel was Aviana awarded? Aviana Cleanup and Construction was awarded parcel 5. What parcel did they bid for? Parcels did they bid for? The company submitted a bid for parcel 2 and parcel 5. What parcel were they disqualified from? After reviewing the documents, they were not disqualified because they were not missing a bank statement as allegedly stated. They were also not, I emphasize not, the winner of parcel 2. Does losing one parcel mean you cannot win any other parcel? No, you can win another parcel. Winning is determined based on the submitted documents per parcel. Each bid is reviewed for which parcel you apply for as a bidder, and you can lose one parcel and still win another. The total amount of points is the determining factor for the winner and awarded parcel. What causes someone to be disqualified from a bidding process? A bidder is disqualified on not meeting the requirements that outline in the terms of reference. Next question through you, Madam Chair, to the Honourable Member of Parliament. Who has the final decision on someone being disqualified? The Department Head and Secretary General have the final decision. This was also expressed by the committee members that they are not responsible for disqualification. This remains with management. The committee solely provides management with advice. Where is the above outlined in the law? What policies govern disqualification? Disqualifications are based on the tour. However, since taking office, there hasn't been any law or policy that governs public tenders. This initiative was taken to create a document with guidelines for the ministry in order to avoid any uncertainty and implement more transparency in these processes. Is Aviana performing the works good in parcel 5? According to information received from the department, yes, they have been performing adequately, as in the recent months, no warnings have been given to any contractors. What is the evaluation process of garbage companies after they start to work? Through you, Madam Chair, to the Honourable MP. The section contract managers of the Department of Infrastructure Management is responsible for the management of these works. Contractors are required to comply with the conditions outlined in the terms of reference, as well as inspections and monthly reports. Madam Chair, through you, I move on to questions posed by MP Ludmila Duncan. Did the minister meet with those members who distanced themselves and speak to them and ask them for their reasoning, and if these conclusions and discussions, at least if you can give a gist to Parliament so that we can better understand why those members distanced themselves or why they resigned or not? through you, Madam Chair, to the Honorable Member of Parliament Duncan. In my capacity as Minister, I found it most fit to request clarity on those matters in writing via the department head to ensure that any possible concerns were addressed. Going directly to staff was not the preferred route, and the chain of command was respected while staying in direct communication with the department head and SG. These communications has also been shared with Parliament for your review. Next question posed by MP Duncan. Were any warning letters issued to civil servants, those that had an issue because we talk or hear about behavior that took place during the meetings? Were any disciplinary action taken based on what was mentioned in the memo? Through you, Madam Chair, there were no disciplinary actions taken in relation to the solid waste tender 2021-2026. Are you willing to ask the persons whose signatures appear on those completeness forms to present statements or declarations that document had been signed by them, or if the documents are forged? Through you, Madam Chair, yes, I took the liberty to approach those that were part of the committee and ask them for statements. Based on the statement received, there was a disagreement amongst the committee members about whether a sole proprietorship should be in the name once the refuse recladding is provided, if it should be in the name of the company or an individual. Additionally, a letter was sent to the courthouse seeking verification and or clarification on the process surrounding whether refuse recladding should be in the name of the person or a company in relation to a sole proprietorship, which I'm awaiting a reply on. However, as MP Bryson explained in the previous meeting, whether it's in the company's name or the person name, once it's a sole proprietorship company, it's the same. Madam Chair, I move on to questions posed by MP Bryson. What do you think you could have done better? What do you think you could improve upon? MP Bryson, your question posed were answered in the response to MP Emmanuel, but looking back at the entire solid waste issue in preparation for the meeting of Parliament in connection with the Ombudsman report, I indeed see at least two areas which could have gone differently. As such, I believe that the checks and balances were sufficiently in place. This experience has taught me that perhaps we should look into outsourcing evaluations. This is a discussion that has been ongoing within the ministry in the last couple of weeks. I recognize that one of the main issues that have caused unfortunate misunderstandings between the ministry and the Office of the Ombudsman is an omission of a checklist of notes from the evaluation committee. I have instructed the Cabinet, in keeping with improving government's working and services, to create a checklist of documents requested by the Ombudsman or any other institution for that matter. This will outline which documents were requested, who provided them to the said institution, and also on which date, and all parties would have to sign. I was informed by the then department head that he personally prepared the documents requested by the Ombudsman and carried them to the Ombudsman office. In the report is also stated from the Marshal, in which the ministry conducted an internal investigation into the leaking of internal documents and verification, which the department head stated the following, and I quote again, "At this point, the department head stated that at the start of an investigation, he was the sole person handling the files and making requested copies to provide them to the Office of the Ombudsman." He also indicated that there was a possibility at the time of copying documents, the documents could have been lost. A full detailed checklist would have assisted in avoiding this miscommunication, I must say. As Minister, I therefore apologize and will ensure to make sure sharing the documents between any institution and the ministry is done more thoroughly. Considering the understaffing within the ministry and the intention of hope that more hires can come out of the job mixer that we recently held will translate into our vacancies being filled. In the interim, another area I regret not having, for instance, SOAB being involved, either before or after the bidding process was done, to assist in whatever way that they can in regards to the evaluation of the bids. This way, the evaluation committee can be assisted by our auditors to ensure that processes is in line with principles of good governance. Contact has already been made with SOAB in this regard for tenders. This is one of the delays that the current trenching contract has also experienced. We will request that the ministry for a full detailed plan I will request from the ministry a full detailed plan for upcoming tenders to alleviate time constraints and proper preparations. I would like to take this opportunity to commend all garbage haulers for their hard work and all other contractors that carry out works for our different departments within the ministry. Madam Chair Lady, I would like to close by saying the following. I do recognize that communication is key, and I must say, after analyzing certain meetings and certain actions, maybe my communication was not clear, and therefore I see where I can improve on that point. And I would like to say as well that this was all a learning experience, and I look forward to continue serving the people of St. Martin, and I look forward to any clarifications that members of Parliament might have as well. Thank you.
Thank you, Minister, for the answers provided in round 2. We now go over to the clarification round, and I would like to know if any members of Parliament wish to have the floor for clarification. MP Emmanuel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I can appreciate the answers from the Minister. However, Madam Chair, on a few occasions through you, the Minister has apologized for, how should I say it, for oversight, if I should use that word, in terms of documents not fully reaching the Ombudsman or not fully being where they were supposed to be. But Madam Chair Lady, what I have been talking about all the time was the documents with the 7 signatures. I would like the Minister to clarify if it's that he is apologizing for. Because, Madam Chair Lady, when I look at his response to the Ombudsman of November the 17th, 2021, if you go down on page attachment 3, it says, the Ombudsman said, please provide copies of all the individual evaluation sheets for the completeness of the tender documents. First norm of elimination, terms of reference, Article 10, completeness of documents. Madam Chair Lady, the response from the Minister is, the findings of the first norm of eliminations are documented and concluded in the internal findings report, which is part of the advice. So I'm asking, Madam, can the Minister clarify if those first findings are part of the 7 signatures evaluation sheet that the Ombudsman didn't receive? That's what I want the Minister to clarify, Madam Chair Lady. Because in the report, I am confused which advice he's talking about. Thank you very much, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Emmanuel. Is there any other member of Parliament who wish to have the floor for clarifications? Yes, MP Bryson, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. I would like to thank the Minister for his explanation, especially to my question regarding the explanation that would be given in terms of how this was not done, how it was missed. And he did indeed apologize for that, and that definitely goes a long way for me. Madam Chair, just as the Minister, he stated some of the corrective action, let's say in future systemic investigations, what he would do. How soon does he plan to be able to implement that, and can he maybe describe how that would safeguard to prevent what happened before from happening again?
Thank you, MP Bryson. Is there any other member of Parliament that wish to have the floor for clarifications? No, I see no need. Minister, I would like to turn the floor over to you. Are you able to respond to both?
Yes, Madam Chair Lady.
Minister, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair Lady. In regards to the question, the clarification posed by MP Emmanuel, as I mentioned, based on the dirt waters for cladding, when we were doing the fact check in terms of the validity of the documents, I would like to repeat the answer so that it can be clear. I would like to mention that the bailiff, as a neutral third party, was brought in when the documents were being checked, and this information was documented in the report. On page 47 of the report says the following, and I quote the department head. At this point, the department head stated that at the start of the systemic investigation, he was the sole person handling the files and making requested copies of the documents for the Ombudsman. The department head also indicated that there was a possibility at the time of copying the documents, some documents could have accidentally been placed loosely, opposed to being returned to the envelopes. I'd like to add that this was my first time handling a systemic investigation, and I had been informed that all documents were sent and relayed to the Office of the Ombudsman. And I, again, would like to reiterate that part of the evaluation process, part of the awarding process that deals with the advice, those documents are not sent to me because those are notes from the evaluation committee. It was not sent to me, it was not sent to the council of ministers, nor was it sent to the governor. What was sent to me as a minister is the awarding advice, which includes, as the MP just mentioned, all the information that he just mentioned in that regard. In regards to the clarification, Madam Chair, through you to MP Bryson, we already started with different improvement plans. As I mentioned before, we have a policy in place that outlines the guidelines as to which the ministry operates, and also different improvement points. For example, the legal vetting of documents to avoid, for instance, in the Ombudsman report, you see where they're saying that the tour was poorly put together. This method is to avoid such instances from happening in the past. And again, as I mentioned, our goal is to potentially, because we're in discussions right now, outsource the evaluation process and at least assistance with the evaluation process to SORB, which was our auditor, to make sure that we follow proper processes. I hope that clarified the few points, Madam Chair, and I thank you for the opportunity.
Thank you, Minister, for your clarification answers. Members of Parliament, we have come to the end of round 2. There's been a motion submitted during this meeting, and we now go over to the handling of that motion. And I will now like to read the motion. Motion of no confidence, Minister of Rummy, E.J. Duran. The Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, Wednesday, August 17, 2022, considering that after the awarding process of the solid waste collection 2021-2026, complaints were filed with the Ombudsman against the Minister of Public Housing, Spatial Planning, Environment and Infrastructure, Rummy, by multiple bidders that participated in the collection of the solid waste tendering process, who expressed concern regarding the credibility, reliability, and the transparency of the tendering, considering that the Ombudsman informed the Minister of Rummy on August 27, 2021 that the Bureau Ombudsman has refrained from further investigating the aforementioned complaints and would proceed with a systemic investigation into the tendering and the awarding process of the solid waste collection 2021-2026, which then started on September 17, 2021. Considering that the Ombudsman, in accordance with Article 21 of the National Ordinance, Ombudsman submitted a final report on the investigation. Considering that the conclusion of the final report was that the Minister of Rummy failed to provide critical information to the Ombudsman in her investigation, that the tendering and the awarding process was neither fair nor sufficiently transparent. Considering that the documentation received has proven that the Minister misled the Office of the Ombudsman, a High Council of State, as well as Parliament and the public when he stated that all required documents had been provided to the Office of the Ombudsman. Considering that the Minister of Rummy received a motion of disapproval on the 20th of October 2021 by the Parliament of St. Martin for his questionable handling of Vineyard Heights long lease land up to date, has failed to fix the issues and complete the terms of the motion. Considering that the Ombudsman, as of September 28, is busy with a systemic investigation into Vineyard Heights situation, and that there is no confidence that the conclusion of that report would be of any difference from the conclusion of this report. Considering that there are other internal, external, and equally critical issues occurring within the Ministry of Rummy where the Minister's jurisdiction reaches, including the continuing situation at the country's only electricity provider, NVGEBE. Considering that the Minister has consistently shown indifference with regards to his own accountability when confronted with these critical issues, that the Parliament has no confidence that he is unable to fix these issues. Declares that as a result thereof, these actions of the Minister of Rummy must be deemed in conflict with the principles of good governance and accountability. And it resolves that the Minister of Rummy, Mr. Egbert J. Duran, no longer enjoys the confidence of the Parliament, and it goes over to the order of the day. Copies of this motion were sent to the Governor of St. Martin and the Government of St. Martin and was signed by MP MP Melissa Gums and supported by a few members of parliament. We go now over to the voting of the motion. Does anyone wish to vote Hof Liquor Stemming? Yes. I will take my time and choose a number. The number is 4, and I'll turn the floor over to, oh, and is there any member of parliament that wish to have the floor for motivation before we go to the vote? Number 4. Motivation? MP Emmanuel, you have the floor.
Thank you very much, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, I took this time because I wanted to read a motion that was passed here in Parliament in my time of motivating my vote, Madam Chair. It says, draft motion, the Parliament of St. Martin, in its meeting of today, September the 30th, 2015, considering the government of St. Martin is oblivious to the urgent needs of the people of St. Martin, such as healthcare, security, pension, employment, and housing, to name a few. The blatant disrespect for the Parliament of St. Martin, the unattainable situation at most government companies and other entities such as Cadastre, St. Martin Housing Development Foundation, the lack of leadership in and by government, the absence of measurable programs of government. Resolve that the Gums cabinet consisting of Minister Marcel Gums, Marcel Hackett. I just wanted to read that, Madam Chair Lady, because, Madam Chair, in 2015, this motion was passed by Sylvia Jacobs, Frank Richardson, Christopher Emmanuel, George Pantoflet, Sylvia Matza, William Marlin, Sarah Westcott Williams, Tamada Leonard. No, the ones who passed the motion, Madam Chair, was Sylvia Jacobs, Frank Richardson, Christopher Emmanuel, George Pantoflet, Sylvia Matza, William Marlin, and Sarah Westcott Williams. Madam Chair, what we are witnessing here today and what we have been witnessing over the past months, this motion, Madam Chair, midgets in comparison to all what is happening in this country. Madam Chair, for this reason, I am voting for this motion. Thank you very much.
Thank you, MP Emmanuel. Is there any other member of parliament that wish to motivate his or her vote? MP Bijlani, you have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Being a member of parliament, before that, I'm a Rotarian too. And the first line in Rotary 4-bit test we read is it fair to all concerned? I know the minister himself is not responsible for many actions. He has a team that plays there. So I cannot just label him as the total culprit. If there's any criminal activities, there's Justice Department to look into, and I hope they will look into that. But for me, he's not alone to be blamed. So I will not go against him. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Bijlani. Is there any other member of parliament that wish to motivate the vote? MP Ramu, you have the floor.
Good afternoon, Madam Chair Lady. Pleasant good afternoon to my colleagues here today. Pleasant good afternoon to the Honourable Minister and his support staff, and of course to the viewing and listening public. I too, Madam Chair Lady, would like to echo the sentiments of MP Bijlani, because I think a lot have been brought forward here in Parliament over the last couple of weeks as it pertains to this case. And for me, Madam Chair Lady, I believe that when there's an investigation, especially a criminal investigation, so to speak, the proper authorities take their role and investigate, and whatever the investigation comes out, if it's negative or if it's positive, the law will stand its course. So I too want to agree with MP Bijlani, and indicate that everyone inside here and everyone who has been a part of government over the past couple of years would know that the Vromi ministry is one that has always been riddled with all sorts of accusations, all sorts of criminal investigations, and indeed it is nothing that this minister created but has inherited, so to speak. And for me, it is very important for the people of St. Martin listening here today to understand that when we talk about integrity, integrity starts with all of us. Integrity starts with all of us. And when we sign any sort of agreement where we're working, we should uphold this. And it's not today for me, tomorrow for you. So if there's wrong that has been done, I think it should all come out in its proper time. But I will not sit here or stand here today and be judge and jury, because I believe the persons who's supposed to do that will do that. And therefore, I too cannot support this motion. I thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Ramu. I see that MP Peterson would like to have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair. A good afternoon to yourself, to my honorable colleagues, to the Minister and his support staff, to the griffier and secretariat, and to everybody else tuned in. Madam Chair, my echo would be kind of the opposite of what the last two MPs said, mainly because this is Vromi. That was a good point to make, that this was Vromi. Minister Gitterson was sent home by the Parliament because he had an accident. That's it. He had an accident. At this point in time, I believe I've had an accident. The Par 1 has been in an accident. Even the Prime Minister, I heard, was in an accident. But the Minister of Vromi got sent home then. He was forced to resign. Now, if we're talking about integrity and accountability and the proper authorities to investigate this, we as Parliament have placed a national ordinance for the Ombudsman in play to regulate this. The body, the High Council of State, the Ombudsman, did the investigation. The Ombudsman drew a conclusion, a very clear conclusion. The law states that the right authority to act based on that investigation is us as Parliament. So therefore, Madam Chair, without further ado, I think this motion has been long overdue. At this point, there is no point of return. It's clear what's going on, and I will not be here and be fooled by anybody. I will vote for the motion, Madam Chair. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Peterson, for your motivation. Is there any other member of Parliament that wish to have the floor for motivation? No? Yes, MP Gums and MP Bryson, I see you're next. So MP Gums, you go first.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon again to you, to the Minister, to my colleagues, and those joining us. Madam Chair, having brought the motion, obviously I am supporting it, but I just wanted to state for the public to know, there was never really a criminal investigation at hand. As my colleague just explained, the Ombudsman, put there by Parliament, conducted an investigation into the process, the procedures, and the goings-on of a ministry and government. Political responsibility and accountability don't just come into play when there is a criminal investigation. This is actually the role of Parliament to be judge and jury on the actions of a government towards its population. So to state that that's not what we're here to do, well, then maybe you should not be here. That being said, Madam Chair, in the interest of accountability and in the interest of recognizing that when you take a role, you are taking on all responsibility for that role, even what is done by the persons under you. Because we talk a lot about the Netherlands and what they say about us, the Toeslagen affair, etc. But everyone has been held accountable regarding that incident, even the person that was not in charge when the issue occurred. And that is what integrity actually is, recognizing that you are responsible for the actions of those below you. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Gums. Next for motivation, I see MP Bryson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, the Minister, in the last time he was here, my grave concern was the fact that information was eventually made available to Parliament, that when you finally look at the actual information, all of the allegations that turn out to be completely baseless, you notice since I've pointed that out on the screen regarding Parcel 5, you haven't heard a peep about that anymore. Missing bank statements had nothing to do with Aviana getting that parcel. Everybody is quiet. And all it took is a couple minutes of reading the actual information. Madam Chair, if a motion is coming from a party that has proven that they would go to any lengths, illegally recording ministers, we have a civil servant that they claim to care for right across from us, pressuring him to give information, and when he doesn't march to the beat of their drum, all of a sudden, he's a founding member and he needs to leave. Madam Chair, that is an essence of an issue that I have with this. I looked at this entire process completely from the perspective of the evidence before us and the information provided. but also from the position of the minister to be willing to apologize, like all of us, like I have done, to admit, yes, I can do better, that I will do better. That is important as well, Madam Chair. But if we see that some, on the one hand, talk integrity, but completely act the other way, that has a measure in the weight of the motion and who has brought it forward. So, Madam Chair, I am in support of this minister continuing as long as he keeps in mind that you have to acknowledge that you are new to this. You will make mistakes, but do not ever let them be intentional. Learn from them, grow, because the people of St. Martin want to know that leaders are not there feeling that it is an entitlement. You were there because you served. You got votes, but you didn't accept your seat in Parliament. So now you're back down to zero, and you are just a servant of the people. And Madam Chair, if that ever changes, any minister will lose my support. If this minister has that, he'll continue to have my support. Thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Bryson. Next, I have MP Solange Duncan. You have the floor.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, me and this minister joined the National Alliance at the same time, 2018. We both had to come up in front of the Congress and introduce ourselves. And I remember how confident the minister was. I wasn't as confident as him. I knew that he would get in. I knew that he had the strength to get in. Madam Chair, I'm sitting now next to the great MP Marlin here, who himself was sent home after Irma. Whether that was the right decision or not, those who did what they did, can respond to that. Everyone has a different perspective. As a member of Parliament, Madam Chair, who came in, yes, thanks to the ministers who are now there going into the government, I had to ask myself, what am I going to stand for? And it's going to be principles of good governance. When I am in the seat across from me, Madam Chair, I expect to be held accountable too. I don't have no problem with that. Whether it is the people saying maybe I'm not doing a good job or the members of Parliament, I expect to be held accountable too. Thank you, Madam.
Thank you, MP Duncan. Next, we have MP Westcott Williams, and then I'll get back to you, MP.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Madam Chair, how could I take to lectern the desk and motivate my vote without taking the opportunity to welcome MP William Marlin back to Parliament and wishing him a speedy further recovery. I think it probably took a lot for him to be here, but understanding that he should be, feeling that he should be, he made it a point to be here. So welcome back, and I wish you continued recovery, complete continued recovery. Madam Chair Lady, at the very beginning of this meeting, in fact, going back to an earlier meeting, I expressed my grave concern with the way that this ministry has been dealing with reports from the Ombudsman. I remember in the first instance when the minister came out and lashed out at the Ombudsman, I was one of those who spoke out and spoke out very direct because I thought that we were heading into a wrong direction like that. Whether we like the persons who hold any of those offices, High Council of State, at any given time, Madam Chair Lady, or not, fact is they represent that office. And if we are going to start to place doubt on the functioning and the credibility of these institutions, again, we're heading down a slippery slope. So, Madam Chair Lady, nothing today from the minister gave me that feeling of that relationship being bettered in the future. To the contrary, to the contrary. So, Madam Chair Lady, with that final remark on this topic, nothing here this afternoon gave me the feeling of that relationship with the Ombudsman's office, that will be better going forward, and that there is some understanding for what has been presented to Parliament. But I didn't get that impression here at all this afternoon. I thank you, Madam Chair Lady.
Thank you, MP Westcott Williams. MP William Marlin, you have the floor for motivation.
Thank you, Madam Chair, and good afternoon once again. Madam Chair, for the greater part of this meeting, this agenda, I've been in Panama, but still in touch and looking and following. Madam Chair, I also had a radio interview in which I said this matter was handled actually completely wrong. And when I say completely wrong, one can clearly see that the objective was let's count the numbers, see where we stand, and let's get at this minister. Madam Chair, if you really want to hold the minister accountable, what is holding the minister accountable? Condemning him before you hear his side of the story? Or do you call in the parties involved and get clarity? Madam Chair, when I looked at the first round, most of those who requested the meeting came out and made statements only. So in actuality, they didn't want to hold the minister accountable. They had already made up their minds. We are going to bring a motion against this minister and get rid of him. Madam Chair, the minister acknowledged that there are things he could have done differently. There are things he would definitely do differently in the future. He has made an effort to correct some mistakes that were made. But Madam Chair, interesting is, if the members of Parliament would hold themselves accountable, they would apologize for rushing into things and condemning the minister on something that they did not even pay proper attention to. That the documents that were missing, or supposedly missing, had nothing to do with the parcel that the contractor won. So if you put a story out there and breathe life into it, it's easy to support it, but if you create a story and when the story is verified and people then realize, oops, it is not really what they are telling you, Madam Chair, the proper thing to do would actually be to apologize. Madam Chair, this motion that was quickly put together to condemn the minister rather than hearing the minister can therefore not have my support. Thank you.
Thank you, MP Marlin, for your motivation. I see that MP Richardson would like to have the floor for motivation. MP Richardson.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to my colleagues. Good afternoon to the radio listeners and the viewers. Mr. Chairman, Madam Chair, I would like to take this opportunity to welcome back Mr. William Marlin to Parliament. Unfortunately, while he was not here, I heard a member of Parliament practically calling for him to give up his seat. I would like to say sometimes we have to look at the length of time this MP have stayed and fight for St. Martin, and to just come out and ask him to give up his seat as a young MP coming in here, I think that is uncalled for. Madam Chair, I want to thank the Minister for giving the answers to the questions. I've asked some important questions, and the Minister have bring those answers to us, or give those answers to us, and to the rest of the members of Parliament. I too believe the motion was a hurried motion, and it was not done in time. The Minister should have been given the opportunity to come to Parliament and be questioned. And they brought a motion before all of that, and therefore, for me, the minister have my support to continue to do his job for the people of St. Martin. I thank you, Madam Chair.
Thank you, MP Richardson. Is there any other member of parliament that wish to have the floor for motivation? No? Then with that, I too would like to motivate my vote before we go over to the voting. But before I do, I would like to state for the record that this meeting was tabled 4 days before we went on recess, a Tuesday. And Wednesday was a regular meeting day, and Thursday we had 3 members of parliament that was supposed to leave the country, and the week after that another member of parliament was supposed to leave for vacation, actually 2 or 3. So a quick scan of the Ombudsman report, it's 35 pages. You can read 35 pages in less than an hour, because I did it 3 times over the summer in less than an hour. And a quick scan of the report and looking at what was being recommended and suggested by the Ombudsman, I found it prudent to call the meeting, and the only day possible was the Wednesday. So I did what I could have done during that time per the rules of order. And the first person I spoke to was the minister, informing him of where we stand with this urgent request. Noticeably, I chaired this meeting and was unable to weigh in during the OV, during the public meeting. But during the summer, I yielded to the call of our senior MP stating that we need the Ombudsman in. I reached out to the Ombudsman, I called her. She was unable to attend because she was off island. So I said, let me start off the opening of the recess of the summer, after the summer break, the opening of the week with a Central Committee meeting, and I allowed everyone then to chime in, because that was our only possibility. This is an urgent meeting we're dealing with here. I deliberately continued to remain neutral over that, during the Central Committee meeting. I decided literally to take the role of a juror. A juror they're in charge of the responsibility of deciding whether, on the facts of the case, a person is guilty or not guilty of the offense of which he or she has been charged with. For me, it was like, at that point, watching a tennis match. The minister started with his opening remarks and statements, and turned left, the MPs asked their questions. And it continued so, and I digested and took my time. I would like to state that this systemic investigation has turned this country into a pure and utter chaos. This systemic investigation at this moment casts now a dark shadow on the integrity of this country. Let me set the scene for you. The Ombudsman is like the detective. She did her work, she provided Parliament with the findings for her investigation. The Minister of Rami, according to her findings, you stand accused of approving a bidding process that was unfair and not transparent. And how did you plead? You came here, you said, not guilty. But when a person is not guilty, they must show some sort of remorse, humility. Most importantly, it needs to be backed and supported by solid facts and justifications for their innocence. I sat here as a juror and I depended on the MPs to pull the truth out of you. Some of the MPs literally fed you with information to assist you, and I meticulously watched and listened and cross-checked everything you said in the People's House of Parliament. And what did I get? During your initial response, you literally threw your entire staff under the bus. Oftentimes, it's not me, it's them attitude. There is no accountability for your actions, a blatant disregard for your role as the leader of your ministry. Because of the fact still remain, the ultimate decision lies with you, Minister. MP Bryson pleaded with you not to shatter his faith in you. Show some respect, show some contrition, he said, to Parliament and the Ombudsman. But one thing MP Bryson forgot is that you needed to show also respect and contrition to the people of St. Martin. When it comes to providing family and friends with opportunity, I would be the one to understand this the most. Whether they're your family, your friends, or they are all citizens of the country, and they are afforded a right to have any opportunity presented to them. Why should I, of all people, know this? It's simple. I've been related to a perfect example, the Watties, for close to 30 years now. And I've seen many of Claude's grandchildren, mainly, those who wanted to do something for themselves, get sidelined because of their name and because who they're related to. But if you're going to request for anything, especially from government, you better make sure you follow the right channels, the proper channels, and not use any political influence to get you what you, at times, rightfully deserve. But, Minister, there are way too many smoke screens surrounding this particular bidding. Your plea and lack of facts and unclear justifications. I can't, in good conscience, support what you have presented in Parliament here today, and with that, I too will be voting for the motion. I see that there's another MP that would like to have motivation, and I would like to give the floor then to MP Pantaflet.
Thank you, Madam Chair. Good afternoon to the Chair, my colleagues, Parliament, Honourable Minister and the support staff, those who are viewing and those who are listening. Madam Chair, is one thing I have learned in life is not to prejudge and not to accept one-sided stories. The impression, Madam Chair, is created as if, let me speak for myself, disrespecting the Ombudsman. But Madam Chair, a report was done by the Ombudsman, and it appears as if I, as a member of Parliament, had no right to question the report. Because it's the Ombudsman that's the judge, jury, and executioner altogether. What the Ombudsman says is a fact, because they are not human beings and they can't make errors. Madam Chair, I asked a very important question. Were there any investigations done prior to how the bidding process took place? That was not answered. Ombudsman feel that they should not do so, Madam Chair. So what I'm saying, Madam Chair, you see, the way it is going is as if it is pre-planned. This is what we want to do. And, Madam Chair, there's a lot more behind this than what the public know, Madam Chair. It's a lot more. It's a lot more, Madam Chair. And again, you know, because of who I am, I'm going to avoid saying certain things, Madam Chair. But there's a lot more behind what's happening, especially in that department. And I've always said this, because it is said that the minister threw the civil servants under the bus. No, Madam Chair. In any organization, Madam Chair, when you come in and you are learning, let me use our thing, you're learning the ropes, you have to make sure that you cover yourself, and you have to ensure that those who you're working with, you have their support. And you can trust and depend upon them, but Madam Chair, because the final say, Madam Chair, lies with the minister. So talking about the issue of the Ombudsman and so on, yes, we got answers, we got a systematic report. But Madam Chair, I have not today had an opportunity to ask any questions to the Ombudsman. So how can I take a one-sided story, Madam Chair? So Madam Chair, having said this, Madam Chair, I definitely cannot and will not support this motion.
Thank you, MP Pantaflet. It appears we have come to the end of the motivation. I will now go over to the vote and turn the floor over to our Secretary General, Mr. SG, Mr. Garrick Richardson. You have the floor.
MP Bryson.
Against.
MP Chanel Brownbill.
Against.
MP Solange Duncan.
For.
MP Christophe Emmanuel.
For.
MP Melissa Gums.
For.
MP William Marlin.
Against.
MP George Pantaflet.
Against.
MP Rayan Peterson.
For.
MP Hyacinth Richardson.
Against.
MP Angelique Rameau.
Against.
MP Ludmila De Weaver.
For.
MP Sarah Westcott Williams.
For.
MP Akeem Arundel.
Against.
MP Siddharth Bijlani.
Against.
Chair Lady of Parliament Grisha Helga Martin.
For. The vote is 7-4 and 8 against. That means the motion has not been, it has been rejected. And if there is, yeah, that's it. And with that, members of parliament, I would like to thank you for the participation in this public meeting. And I will now thank the minister for your presence here today. And the meeting is now closed. Meeting closed.